Hello, my name is Simon Double, and welcome to Inside the Rails, a monthly podcast for horse racing enthusiasts everywhere. Thank you to the RSA, the Racehorse Syndicates Association, who sponsor Inside the Rails, so thank you to them. And as ever, I'm joined by my co-host, Phil Boyle from BG Racing. Good morning, Phil. How are you?
Hi, Simon. Very good, thank you. A nice sunny morning, thankfully, and a few more trips to the stables, which have been good. And exciting that we've now reached episode 6. Seem to be growing our listener base all the time. And let's get an early plug in for the podcast in terms of trying to keep that going. If everybody out there that listens to the podcast today and enjoys it would just recommend us to one friend, send a link to a friend. And if we can keep on growing our listener base, it'll enable us to get bigger and better and stronger as we go forward.
That's great. Really good plug there, Phil. I like that very much. I can't believe we've actually got to episode 6. It's amazing how time flies, even during COVID. But there we go. Look, there's plenty to talk about today. It's an exciting time of year as we've still got some great jumps action. The flat season moves up a gear. Later on in the show, we're delighted we've got one of Newmarket's brightest young stars, trainer Amy Murphy, who's had success in a fairly short career under both codes, and she'll be joining us. Really looking forward to having Amy on the show. It's great to see some owners back on the racecourse. I shall be going to the races very shortly, up to Leicester, and hopefully some spectators soon. But Phil, we had better start on rather a sad note, as earlier this week, the very sad, tragic news that amateur jockey Lorna Brooke passed away following injuries she suffered in a fall at Taunton. Only 37 years of age. Very, very, very sad, Phil.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I guess jump jockeys are kind of like motor racing drivers and things like that. They love what they do. They thrive on the buzz and the adrenaline from riding. But it does show us that it's not a sport that is totally without risk. The falls are serious. You know, they're coming off of horses at 30, 40 mile an hour. And whilst all the safety equipment has been improved and everything is done to make things as safe as possible, but sometimes these really tragic injuries do happen. And that was really devastating news. You know, you really don't expect it. And it does really highlight the fact that these guys are very brave in what they do.
And I think particularly being an amateur as well, I thought the tribute by fellow amateur jockey David Maxwell was very poignant, one of many people in the sport to pay tribute. And he said, and I quote, "Amateurs do it for love, the love of the game, and more importantly, the love of the horse," he said. "There's such passion in the sport. At the amateur level, nobody has to do it. Lorna was at the front of the Corinthians." I thought that was a really lovely tribute.
Absolutely. And yeah, sad, and right that we start with that because, a sad thing for the sport, and everybody does get together in situations like this, and
they rally round, don't they?
Exactly, and we all wish Lorna's family and friends, you know, our deepest sympathies.
Still on the jumps, of course, the biggest event over the jumps this month was the Randox Grand National meeting at Aintree. So you're our jumps man, Phil.
Oh, it was. I thought it was a cracking meeting, actually, Simon. It was 3 days again of really good action. We almost did the same that we did at the Cheltenham Festival as a group, and got together and chatted about the racing every day because there was such good stuff coming up. I mean, it was amazing that the same owners, a group that included former Man United manager Alex Ferguson, managed to win the first 3 races of the meeting, all Grade 1s. I mean, most of us would, you know, we'd give our right arm to win one Grade 1 race. Winning 3 in 3 races, it's absolutely amazing achievement. It was great to see Abacadabras win the Aintree hurdle just on a personal basis. I've followed that horse. I actually backed him anti-post for the champion hurdle at Cheltenham where he fell. So I was delighted to see him get a bit of compensation at Aintree. And then on day 2, Belfast Banter, who won a handicap at Cheltenham, stepped right up to win a Grade 1 novice, which gives hope for handicap horses everywhere that they can sort of get up to the top level. And Chantry House and Fakir Duduri also won Grade 1s. And then there was a really exciting performance from My Drogo, who looks like a really big future for him ahead. I know he's very well regarded. And then from Cheltenham, Shishkin won again. And one of the horses that missed Cheltenham, Time Hill, showed that he might have won the Stayers Hurdle at Cheltenham if he'd have actually made the race there, winning at Aintree.
And that's interesting. You mentioned Time Hill because, of course, he wasn't ridden by Richard Johnson. He was ridden by Tom O'Brien. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but it was because Richard Johnson, 4 times champion jockey, announced very suddenly his retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. And really did it in typical Richard way, in a very understated way. At, I think it was Newton Abbot, he decided after the 4th or 5th race that was the time to announce his retirement. He actually gave up a ride for another trainer in the last race because he wanted to finish his riding career riding one of Philip Hobbs's horses. He obviously rode for trainer Philip Hobbs for many years, and they had a cracking relationship. And Richard wanted to go out sort of on one of Philip's. Wasn't even a winner, so it wasn't one of these sort of going out in a blaze of glory type retirements. It was just very low key and very much as Richard is. He's unlucky that he rode at the same time as the great AP McCoy, as otherwise he'd probably be regarded as the greatest ever national hunt jockey, I think.
Well, how unlucky was a guy to be runner-up on 17 occasions, 16 of which were to AP McCoy? I mean, if it was you or me, we'd probably just want to give up, wouldn't you? I mean, but he kept on going and going. It's incredible.
Absolutely. He started every year, started again, chased AP the whole year, finished second again, and then got out of bed and did the whole thing all over again. It was great that he had the chance to win some championships after AP retired. And he's unusual in I was going to say in racing, but I think in any walk of life, in that it'd be hard to find someone that would say anything negative about Richard.
Absolutely.
He was really well regarded by everybody that knew him. He only rode once for me. I met him a couple of other times at the races, and even in those limited experiences, he came across to me as just a really nice guy, and I totally wish him every success for the future.
Here to that, Phil. And of course, we've got a new National Hunt champion jockey, Harry Skelton. It went pretty much to the wire, didn't it? Harry Skelton pipping Brian Hughes. Are you a fan of either jockey, or have you followed their careers at all? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've not followed them super closely, but obviously being a National Hunt enthusiast, aware of both of them. Brian Hughes has ridden for my trainer Neil Mulholland on several occasions when Neil has sent horses up north. Brian tends to stick up to the northern tracks, actually, so it was a little bit of a south versus north championship competition this season. Harry's far enough ahead now that he's secured the championship, so he'll be presented with that. He's been greatly helped by the support of his brother Dan String, but they work really well together. And, you know, Harry's obviously a hard-working jockey. He rides plenty of winners for other people as well. And it's a well-deserved win, and it's nice to see a new name on the trophy. It'll just add to the competition for next year.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, won't it? Because it's pretty gruelling when you're trying to go for the championship, whether it's over the flat or the jumps, whether actually Harry and indeed Brian Hughes, may seem a bit of a strange question, but whether they actually want to keep going year after year to get those championships. Because I've noticed on the flat over the years that, you know, maybe it's partly to do with retainers, but the likes of Ryan Moore, once they've won it a few times, Richard Hughes, Jim Crowley's a good example. Once those flat jockeys get the retainers with the big owners, obviously it's very difficult for them to be travelling around the country trying to get the championships. But I wonder if that will apply to the jumps boys. Any thoughts on that, Phil?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'd be surprised if we saw two guys dominating for 15 years like we did when Tony McCoy and Richard Johnson were there. I think it will be passed around the weighing room a little bit more often. There's youngsters coming through all the time, and I don't see a real sort of dominating jockey. So I think it could be, you know, whoever's trainers spark it over a course of a year. And obviously, as we were mentioning earlier, whoever stays injury free, they'll have a bit of a run at the title. And obviously, if they're in contention sort of halfway through the season, they'll start taking it a bit more seriously and you know, really going for it. So hopefully we'll see some similar competitions to this year. in future years as well.
Yeah, well, I think one person who probably will be at home, hoping perhaps that there isn't going to be somebody dominating, will be that fierce competitor, AP McCoy. But I think you're right. I can't actually see anybody really achieving what he achieved in terms of numbers of titles. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, the one race at Aintree that we haven't talked about was the Grand National. I mean, that was incredible. A 1-2 for trainer Henry de Bromhead. And what a nice guy he is. And another huge success and a big story for Rachel Blackmore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Henry trained the winners of the Champion Hurdle, the Champion Chase. He had the first and second in the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and now he's trained the first and second in the Grand National. I mean, what a performance that is. And then switching over to Rachel, top jockey at Cheltenham. She's looking like she might win the Irish Jockeys Championship, and now she's ridden the national winner. I mean, what a year for both of them. Absolutely incredible performance. And I don't think we'll... I mean, never in my lifetime has one trainer won all of those races in the same year. Even in the years where Willie Mullins has been dominating, or Paul Nicholls has been dominating, or even going as far back as when Martin Pipe was dominating. You know, that's just an incredible achievement. And of course, Rachel has quite rightly earned all the plaudits. There's been loads of press about her success. She dominated Cheltenham despite being on the floor several times. She was bouncing back up and winning the next race on a regular occasion, and now she's won the national. I mean, some year for her. But as pleased as I was, for both of them, I did manage to do a 40-horse preview for the race, and that horse was the last one I eliminated.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up with 4 different bets and kicking myself as Rachel stormed up the run-in on Manila Times to win the national. But yeah, you can't win them all, and I was delighted actually to the story was a good one, even if the betting return was not there for me. But yeah, no sooner as the national was completed and we saw the first Guineas trial meetings on the flat, it doesn't stop, does it? So you're our flat man. What caught your eye?
Well, I think it was the late Sir Henry Cecil that said he didn't really think the flat season started until the Craven meeting. And I seem to remember I used to follow Henry Cecil, not quite blindly, but I used to follow his horses a lot. And I think he rarely had any horses running until the Craven meeting. Well, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? As you say, time moves on, and we've had some trials for the 1,000 guineas and the 2,000 guineas. We had the Craven meeting at Newmarket, followed by the Fred Darling and the Greenham at Newbury, which is actually on a Sunday, which is unusual, but that was due to the funeral of the Duke of Edinburgh. Let's look at the Craven meeting. So the 1,000 guineas. I mean, these races like the Nelgwyn and the Craven, they're good races and they're very historic races. They don't always point to the winners of the classics. The Nelgwyn, won by Sacred, Cheveley Park again for William Haggis. Look, that's been chopped at 14-1 for the 1,000 guineas. I think it will stay that extra furlong, and I think definitely deserves to take its chance. Beat fairly and squarely, I thought, Saffron Beach for Jane Chapel-Pyham. I know that was very well touted beforehand, but I really can't see any reason why that would necessarily turn things around. If we go to the Fred Darling, which is another 7-furlong trial, that was won by Alcohol Free, only very narrowly justifying. I think it was 9-4 favourite. But Andrew Balding did say beforehand that the horse would definitely come on for the run, and he said it again afterwards, I believe. That's 8-1 for the 1,000 guineas. We've got Pretty Gorgeous, who hasn't appeared yet this season, for Joseph O'Brien. That's a 5-1 shot for the 1,000 guineas. That won the Fillies Mile as a 2-year-old, but it won in soft conditions, so we're yet to see her. But, I mean, Head of the Market is... I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this, Phil. Head of the Market is his red-hot favourite, Santa Barbara, 6-4. It won a maiden at the Curragh last September. It doesn't look like that was any old maiden. I think it's a red-hot race. Funnily enough, the horses that were placed there haven't actually won, but they've got pretty high ratings. But the 7th, 10th and 12th horses have all come out and won. And not only is she 6-4 for the 1,000 guineas, she'll obviously be heading straight there. She's already 7-2 for the Oaks. Have you steamed in at 6-4?
I can't say I have. Let me hazard a guess that particular horse is trained by Aidan O'Brien. Am I right?
Oh yes. Well, sorry, I took it as read really that people would. Yeah, Aidan O'Brien, but funny enough, it's